y'all, welcome back to Homemade Simple. I'm really glad you're here today. I needed to make some bread, so I didn't figure you would mind if I talked to you while I was kneading my bread. I have quite a few updates with our family to tell you about. I wanted to give you a recap of our family vacation, and I wanted to talk to you about something that I feel like is a really important topic for us homemakers that sometimes can get lost in all of the upbeat, clean with me kind of videos that we like to watch on a regular basis here on YouTube. So I'm really glad that you're here today. Let's get started. First of all, we have had 2 birthdays since I've talked to you last. Our little boy Lane turned 2 while we were on vacation, and Kelsey, our youngest daughter, has turned 16. So she's really excited about getting her driver's license and all of the freedom that usually comes with turning 16. But we're gonna have sort of a low-key birthday celebration with her this evening, and she was mainly just interested in going around to all of the local stores and getting the birthday freebies. So we did that yesterday. She had a really good time, a really enjoyable day. I enjoyed spending the day with her. Lane's birthday was celebrated in the hotel room, not exactly what we expected. Whenever we made our vacation plans, we planned to be at Disney World on his birthday and to have a big celebration there, but Hurricane Ian came through right in the middle of our celebration, and so we ended up celebrating his birthday in the hotel room. But he didn't seem to mind that very much. He enjoyed all of the attention that he got from everybody being stuck in the hotel room. He really seemed to enjoy that a lot. So we enjoyed spending the day celebrating him, but it was definitely not what we expected. When we left on our vacation, my mom came to take care of the animals. I made a video about that. You can watch that here, and she did a really good job taking care of all of the farm and the farm animals while we were gone. But on the way down to Florida, our car broke down, and so we had to leave it. My parents actually were able to bring us their vehicle, and so although we had quite a delay on the day that we left, we were still able to safely make it to Orlando. And then we got up the next morning, not quite as early as we had hoped, because we didn't make it to the hotel until about 2 o'clock in the morning. So we didn't get an early start on Saturday, but we did have a good couple of days in a theme park before Hurricane Ian closed everything in Orlando down, and we stayed in the hotel room for a couple of days. Friday we were able to go back to the parks, although they weren't really open fully. We did get to enjoy a day at the park. And then my oldest daughter, Kendall, something happened with her knee and she was not able to walk very good. So we decided to cut our trip short and to come on home on Saturday, and we finally made it back late Saturday evening. And although there were a whole lot of bumps in the road, we did have a really enjoyable family vacation. So we're back home, getting back into our groove, and back washing dishes and doing laundry, making the beds and cooking supper. And that's sort of what I wanted to talk about today. The possibility that we can get overwhelmed as homemakers, as people who spend our days in the home trying to make things comfortable, healthy, safe, and engaging for our family. It can sometimes really be overwhelming. And I got the idea for this video during a Bible study that I went to recently, and my friend Elizabeth was talking about how she was feeling a little overwhelmed in her day-to-day tasks as a wife and a mom, as a keeper of her home. She was just feeling a lot of anxiety and overwhelm because she had so many things on her plate and she just felt like she couldn't get them all done. And I don't know about you, but I can totally relate to how she felt. I figured that maybe some of you were dealing with a little bit of overwhelm and anxiety around all of your responsibilities. And so I just thought that maybe us talking through some ideas to manage that stress would help all of us. I sat down and I tried to think about ways that we could try to avoid feeling overwhelmed in our role as homemakers. And I wrote down a couple of ideas, and maybe you in the comments can add to this list and give us some of your tips and strategies for keeping yourself grounded and not overwhelmed during your day-to-day work as a homemaker. Maybe some of you are homeschool moms and that adds a whole nother level of difficulty. Maybe you have children in sports and that also adds a lot of stress and time restraints to your everyday life. And so I would love to hear some of your strategies and tips for keeping a positive, peaceful outlook as we work day to day doing our tasks as homemakers. The first thing that I wrote down in my list of things to implement to try to avoid feeling overwhelmed is to begin every day with positivity and with gratitude. Whenever you choose to begin your day with a grateful heart and with a positive spirit and attitude, it just seems to permeate through the rest of the family. If I'm going to start my day feeling already overwhelmed, feeling upset that I didn't get a good night's rest, or feeling like the house is already a wreck and I just woke up, feeling like I'm not ever going to be able to do all of these things, if I wake up in that frame of mind, I'm going to rub that negativity off on all of the people that I share my home with. As moms and wives, we have such an opportunity to reflect positivity and good attitudes to our family members, even when things do not go well, even when the house is a wreck, even when we didn't get a good night's rest. We can find things to be positive about and we can find things to be thankful for. And anytime that we can show gratitude and appreciation instead of sourness and negativity, it will always help to lessen the stress and the anxiety that we feel in our bodies. So try in the morning to begin your day with a positive attitude and with an attitude of gratefulness. A wonderful way to do that is to begin the day with prayer or by reading a psalm. It's always best to begin your day in a quiet reflectiveness that will allow you to think on positive things before everybody's asking for all of the things. Tip number 2 is to train your children to be aware and alert and willing to be helpful. If your kids are old enough to be aware of their surroundings, to acknowledge that some of their behaviors have caused the house to get in a place where mom feels stressed, if we can train and teach our children to be aware of that and to be proactive so that they can take responsibilities to remove some of the stressful and anxiety driving forces in our home, that will just leave less for you to be responsible for, and it will give them an opportunity to learn how to serve. If my children can be aware, if I put a dish in the sink, I know that that's more work for mom, but if I wash my dish and put it in the drainer, then that will be one less thing that mom has to do. So as we teach and train our children, we can teach them to be mindful and alert and aware of things that they can do to create a more peaceful environment for the whole family. Tip number 3 is to manage your expectations. This phrase became sort of a joke between Chris and I as we were building our previous home with sort of a big box builder in a large subdivision. And the person who was sort of our liaison between the construction workers and my family often used this phrase, manage your expectations. He didn't want us to have this high, glamorous expectation of the home that we were going to get, when really it was going to be sort of a cookie cutter. We didn't get to make a lot of our own decisions. That's just the decision that we made when we decided to build in a subdivision. And so he didn't want us to be disappointed whenever our expectations were not met, because we had foolishly made too high of expectations for our home. That is exactly what happens whenever I get this grand idea of what my home is going to look like, and I do not factor in the fact that we have 6 people, including 3 teenagers and a toddler. We have 2 inside dogs. We have a ton of farm animals outside. We have a lot of obligations that take up our time, and whenever I do not calculate all of those different variables into my expectation for what my home is going to look like or how my home is going to be run, I'm setting myself up for disappointment, for stress, and for feeling overwhelmed. So my reality is not, I'm gonna have a perfectly pristine home all of the time. That is not gonna happen, because we all are here 90% of the time. And when a family lives in a home, it's just going to look lived in. There's nothing that we can do about that. And me fighting against the fact that my house is lived in is only going to cause me extra and unnecessary stress. I don't need to be upset or disappointed because I can't have a perfectly clean house 24/7 when I have chosen the life that I have because of the people that I share my home with. I don't want to burden my family with a poor attitude and with negative feedback because we are using our home for the purpose that it was intended. So just accept where you are in the phase of life that you are in right now, and be okay with whatever standard you have set for your home and for your family without feeling overwhelmed or anxious because your house is not perfect. The 4th tip that I have for overcoming anxiety and avoiding feeling overwhelmed as a homemaker is to accept the repetitive nature of homemaking. We made the decision to keep our homes, and by making that decision, we have decided that we are going to be okay with washing dishes several times every day. We are going to accept the fact that we are going to have to do laundry every single week, that there are windows that are always going to get dirty and always need to be cleaned, that there's always going to be dirt on the floor and we're going to have to clean and straighten up on a regular daily basis. Almost everything about homemaking is repetitive, and that can be really frustrating sometimes. But if we can change the way that we think about those repetitive tasks, I think that we can really improve our frame of mind and really avoid feeling stressed and overwhelmed by those repetitive tasks. If I go to the sink and I see dishes there, I have 2 choices. I can be angry because those dishes are there and I have to clean them, or I can have a grateful attitude for the people that I share my home with, and that we have food to eat and that we have dishes to dirty. There's a proverb that I really love in Proverbs 14, and it says, "Where no oxen are, the trough is clean, but much increase comes from the strength of an ox." And I feel like that is so relevant to us as homemakers. There's always going to be another dirty dish whenever you have children, but the benefit far outweighs never having a dirty dish. If the alternative is you have no family and you never have any dishes in the sink, then I think that we can better appreciate the blessings that come from all of the toil and work that we have to do in keeping our home. So that proverb, I think if I keep that in the front of my mind, it will really help me to have a more positive attitude about the repetitive nature of the tasks that are before me every day when I wake up. The last tip that I wrote down on my list of avoiding overwhelm and anxiety in keeping my home is to find joy in the fact that I can serve God by serving my family. My family are my people, and I love doing good things for them. That is such an opportunity and such a blessing for me to be able to provide this home for my kids and for my husband. As I do those things for them, I'm also able to serve God through those actions. That will help me to see what a true blessing it is for me to have this opportunity to be a keeper at home. Managing your home is a wonderful opportunity, but it does come with so many responsibilities that the feeling of overwhelm and feeling of stress can really creep in very quickly. I hope that some of these tips will help you if you are starting to feel burdened and overwhelmed. And I also hope that you will share some of your tips down in the comment section below so that we can all learn from one another. Well, my bread has completely been kneaded to death, so I think it's time for me to go put it in some pans and let it rise. I'm so thankful that you're here today. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you again next time.